Yo, hey guys, what is up? It's JJ Tech here, back again for another brand new video, promising those 2 videos a week. And as you know, this right here behind me is a brand new PS5 Dualsense controller, not DualShock, Dualsense controller versus a new Xbox Series X controller. In today's video, we're going to be comparing the two to see which one comes out on top. And I happen to have, well, an Xbox and an Xbox controller. So it's going to be even better so I can actually have it in person to really see how much changes Xbox has made with the brand new Series X controller. So as you know, PS5 basically showed off the official picture of how the DualSense controller is gonna look like for the PS5, and I'm not sure if you guys can see it on camera, but I will put it up here on screen. And as you can see here, it's pretty much looking kind of like the new Xbox controller. Now, we're going to be talking about the differences and the similarities as well, and what they share and stuff like that. And to me, it's looking like they have a lot of similarities just by looking at them. So with no further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the Xbox controller because to me, it pretty much looks almost identical to the current Xbox One controllers here, as you can see here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it behind me on my PC, on the monitor here, but basically, if you look at them side by side here, not sure if you can tell a difference, other than the color, of course. But basically, not sure you can see, but all you Xbox fanboys out there that have been asking for a share button, well, you finally have it, because Xbox finally added a share button in between these two buttons, which I don't really know what the official names are, but they finally added a share button, which is very nice. Now I know all you PlayStation fanboys out there are going to be like, well, we've had our share button since the first day of the PS4, blah blah blah. Well, okay, I'll give you guys that, alright? Xbox finally caught up with adding that share button on the controller itself, because as you know before, when you did want to take a screenshot and whatnot, and you wanted to share it right after, you would have to click the Xbox button, and then it would take you to a menu, and then you would have to click X to share, which, you know, you don't want that. You kind of just want to take the screenshot and quickly click the share button and just share where to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. So that's the first similarity. And yes, the DualSense controller, even though it's not officially called the share button, it has a button that is similar to this. Now another difference that Xbox showed off, and they talked about a lot, was the new D-pad. Now, like I said, you guys probably can't see that in the image behind me, but I'll pop it up here on screen here. Not sure if you can see, but the D-pad is pretty different. It's kind of more a resemblance of the Elite controller from Xbox, at least the newer one, where it kind of has that circle D-pad motion where you can kind of click wherever and it'll register. They're moving away from this D-pad, which is kind of similar to the DualSense controller, which we'll get to, but basically, to me, the only difference that I see is that instead of the arrows actually being separate like this, they're kind of more stuck together, and it looks more just like the Elite controller. But to me, like I said, I would actually have to feel it in hands and see how that D-pad works. But other than that, guys, there's pretty much no difference that you can really tell on the front of the controller other than the D-pad and the new share button in the middle. But something else Xbox also added was, you see these triggers here on the side, right? Basically, they added some grips, just like they have grips at the bottom of the controller so you can grip it. They added some on the triggers itself, which I'll show up here on screen, and they added some little dots, some little perforations here, so when you are playing, you know, your fingers won't slip off the trigger like this, because as you know, the current Xbox controllers has a glossy finish as compared to the current PS4 controllers, which has a matte finish like this, and obviously when you're in game it does kind of slip off, especially if your hands do get sweaty. Now another thing that's different with this controller and the Series X controller is the form factor, the way it looks. Not sure if you can see here, but the Series X controller is actually a little bit more rounded. It doesn't really have this indent that you see at the top here. It's kind of more rounded, which I kind of prefer the look of that better because it makes it look a little cleaner, and I kind of prefer that. Now another major thing that Xbox added to the Series X controller was they finally got USB-C charging. Now as you know, the current Xbox controllers has a micro USB to charge, and they finally switched to the modern times with that USB-C controller. But as you know, yes, the Xbox Series X controller still uses AA batteries, which I'm not really a fan of, but it's not really a big deal because you could just go buy a third-party charger to charge this bad boy. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much the differences or the new features that Xbox added to the Series X controller, because other than that, there's not really anything new. Now, the last thing that Xbox did to the Series X controller was, it's very minor. You probably won't even be able to notice this right off the bat. But basically, as you can see, you see these little like grippy things on the actual thumbstick. Well, mine are actually kind of worn out, so you can't really see them much. But all you Xbox people out there know that there's some grippy things on the Xbox One controllers to kind of, grip your fingers on the thumbsticks themselves, so you don't like accidentally slip off. And they're actually slightly different, like very slightly different. You probably won't even be able to tell when you actually get that Series X controller in your hands, but I thought I'd point it out. Now let's talk about what PlayStation added to their new Dualsense controller for the PS5. And to me, it's looking like they added some significant changes to this year's PlayStation controller. Now sadly, I don't own a PlayStation, so that means I don't own a PlayStation controller, but I will show up an image here that'll show up what they added to the new Dualsense controller. And I'll pretend that this is a Dualsense controller as well. So let's pretend this is a Dualsense controller. Why not? Alright? So as you know, PlayStation likes to put their thumbsticks basically right here at the bottom, almost right next to each other. And to me, that's the first thing that I see that they didn't change, which a lot of you PlayStation fanboys out there will prefer, because as you know, the Xbox controllers are kind of, one is on the left and one is the bottom right, which I personally prefer. And yes, I have held the PlayStation controller in my hand, and I kind of do prefer this setup here. But the first difference that you can see is, well, the whole controller itself, the form factor, is completely different to the old DualShock 4 controller. To me, it's looking more like the Xbox controller than the actual PlayStation 4, 3, and 2 controller that PlayStation has basically had the same design for the past, I don't know, 10 years, and they finally changed it, which a lot of you PlayStation fanboys out there, I know I keep saying that, will not enjoy this new design, and a lot of you will. Now, another new feature that PlayStation added, which is a big feature, is they have a microphone built in to the actual controller. So basically, the theory here is that if you don't have a headset, or you're planning to buy one but you don't have it in hand, basically you could just talk to your friends through the mics on the PlayStation controller, which to me, I kind of wish the Xbox controller had that, but obviously that's not really a big deal because you could just go out and buy a headset. Most people will do that, like I said, and that option isn't really supposed to be an option that you're supposed to be using like often. It's more like if you need it. But yeah, it's really cool that even has it. Now the buttons themselves and the D-pad pretty much look identical to me, other than the color white. But yeah, those two things are pretty much the same, if not unchanged at all. But yeah, to me, that's kind of not the best thing to do, because if you're basically changing the whole form factor and the look of your controller, I mean, come on, you gotta kind of change up the D-pad and the buttons. Now, something else that PlayStation talked about a lot was the vibration motors in the triggers and in the controller itself. As you know, the current Xbox One controller has separate vibration motors in the triggers and the bumpers themselves. So basically, when you're in game, like I say, for example, Forza, it's a racing game. Basically, when you're in game, let's say you're flooring the throttle on your car, it's gonna mimic how it would feel in real life to the trigger itself. And PlayStation is basically doing something similar to that, but they're saying it's gonna be way more advanced than what Xbox has. But we'll have to wait and see until I actually get that on hand, in my hands itself, so I can actually test that. Because Xbox kind of has that in the bag with the current Xbox One controllers, because as you know, their current DualShock controllers just basically has a basic vibration motor which just rumbles the whole controller, which isn't very advanced. Now, another new feature, well, it's not really a new feature, it's kind of been there in the DualShock 4, well, the D-pad. As you know, the D-pad is still there. A lot of people might not notice that it's still there just because it's kind of flush with the color of the controller. But yeah, the D-pad is still there. Personally, I don't really find it used to the touchpad. Now, I don't own a DualShock 4, but my family members own PlayStations, and to me, all the games that I played, they don't really require the touchpad. Even when you're typing, it's kind of frustrating to navigate with it. So personally, I don't know why they carry that on, but a lot of you PlayStation people might still enjoy that feature. Now the next thing is, well, they have this in the current DualShock 4 controllers. Well, the light bar. As you can see, the light bar has been moved from the bottom of the controller right here to the sides here. It's kind of two little LED strips on the side, which to me looks a little bit more cleaner. I'm kind of glad that PlayStation went that route. It looks a little bit cleaner than what they had, that big huge bar of light at the bottom, which personally sometimes when you're at night, I guess you can say it can be very annoying if you don't want that bright light shining. But yeah, other than that, like I said, they don't really have much different. Like I said, actually no, one thing that I missed, also the DualSense controller also has USB-C as well. PlayStation also adapted that. As you know, you can actually charge the DualSense controller as opposed to the Xbox controller, which you kind of still have to put in AA batteries or buy a third-party charger. Personally, I prefer the Xbox controller. But yeah, that's pretty much the only differences I want to be talking about in today's video. Like I said, I will be making a video comparing the consoles themselves, which I will be comparing the PS5 and the Series X controller. Like I said, so stay tuned for that video, and I will talk about more in depth on the controllers and the differences, because this video is getting a little long and I don't want to make it boring for you guys. So yeah, subscribe down below, follow me on Instagram as well. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.